Alrighty, let's actually jump over to our lab. So, first place we're going, well, is to the update. We're going to comment this stuff out. Preview will be handled by the parent, by the common. Go down to the generate. Last state is waiting. We need to get our index. From our column, our row in our ACS Lab 2 common chunk span. That will actually give us the index of this chunk. Let's see here. It goes to a waiting state. Last thing way down here. Oh, I don't have the pointer to my comment yet. Okay, hold on. We need a pointer to our parent. To our common. We'll set that in the editor. Move you back to update. State. I'm going to go ahead and just let the errors guide us. Ready. Get rid of you two. Get rid of the character. Although we're not using it at this moment. And get rid of the map level. We want all of our chunks to have the same definition. Now, we need our common to do its job. We'll actually use in use later on to make sure an error hasn't occurred. but for right now, we're just going to leave it an empty stub. What I mean is we have to check that our chunks, that there's one that is actually being used occasionally because of an error or a race condition. We need to actually occasionally go check, loop through all of our chunks for this common and say, is everybody good? And if everybody's good, we know that we're not in use, and that is a false state. And we'll go ahead and set it to update. And this is just to stop race conditions. Alrighty, that's enough for now. Jump back over here. I'm going to rename this to HS Lab 2, column 0, row 0. I'm going to duplicate it 8 times. At least I think I did. Looks like I missed one. I did that wrong. Still. And this isn't really necessary, it's just nice for debugging. Makes debugging quicker. To know exactly which chunk we're clicking on quickly. So I'm going to select all of those that are on the column 2. And I'm going to set their column equal to 2. I'm going to select all those with the column of 1. And I'm going to set their column equal to 1. I'm going to select all of the row 1s, and I'm going to set the row to 1. Select all the row 2s and set the row to 2. Set the common state to in use. I'm going to select all of these and drag my common onto the common spot of all the labs. None of them are waiting. Okay. They're all generate. At the end of the generate, setting the state to waiting. Okay. Going to pre-evaluate. Well, you're just not being very nice. They generate and they've been created. Oh, no. Map level is where? I have not set up my materials in my map level. So that would be why. Nice, easy problem. Easy mistake. Alrighty. Alrighty, there we go. Let's go ahead and drag our preview material over here. We're not going to use it quite yet. And drag our character down here. What object isn't? Did I forget to set the mesh library? Yes, I forgot to set the mesh library. And there we are, 3 by 3, and immediately we notice something. Okay, so maybe it's planned. Our generate has been a little bit off this whole time, and we would never notice it with just one chunk, of course. But that's okay. We need to get by our offset. Because we're working between the worlds of integers and floats. We're working, our column is actually, as we already noted, 0.75. Our row is actually, though, 0.8660254. So this actually isn't perfect because we should be doing an even check also, but I didn't really see anything impressive about that. So it seemed like a waste of time. And this time when we go up, it's nice and smooth all the way across. But of course, there's no communication between chunks yet. That's what we're going to do next. And so we still have our walls in between our chunks. But we're going to take care of those next. Let's jump back to our common. Get to it. Alrighty, we got to jump down to, we have to create a new function in our common called get my neighbor's chunk, or get my neighbor, get my nugget neighbor. We'll put it underneath check chunks to keep everything kind of orderly here. And we're going to depend on the chunk that is calling this method to give us all of our information. Wrapping in a try catch. Our chunks index. So our chunk, since we have everything in order in the editor, our chunk should be in the array at the point of this index. That's important to remember later on when you're messing around. If you don't have your chunk, that point in the array, you'll have to do a lookup table. Lookup array, that is. that's pretty much the whole kit and caboodle of our get neighbor on the common side. But now we need to jump over to here and rewrite our get neighbor from this point of view to call that method in the right conditions. And this is really annoying. Later on, we will be, as long as I remember, we will be writing a matrix or lookup table instead of calculating all this out, because it's always the same thing. So for instance, we'll still do nugget index plus some value right there that we get from our lookup table. And that basically will go to the common and get our neighbor. So the 0 and the 3 are the easiest. Let's do those first. And test them out and just be impressed with ourselves. So if our chunks row is less than the chunk, plus 1 is less than the chunk span, then we know we have a chunk in front of us. And therefore, we're going to get it. So we actually are calculating. The nugget spot that we're going to get is actually the back of the chunk in front of us. So we take our nugget index, remove the entire level size minus a nugget count. That will give us the equivalent nugget and equivalent index of our same column, but the first row. In this case, we're doing exactly the opposite, if you notice. Very simple, like I said. This is our first row on this chunk, so our neighbor is behind us. So we want to get a nugget from its last row. So we'll go our nugget index plus our level size minus the nugget count. And like I said, these are static. Now, if we were working with 2D, we wouldn't even need to do any. We would not need to do any calculations because there will only be one Y level. And we could just do this statically. But we do still need to do a calculation, even when we go to the lookup table, unless we make a full 3D lookup table, which would be insane. But it really wouldn't give us that much. All right, let's jump over to our common and test. And at the same time, let's go back to Visual Studio real fast, and let's set both of our default shapes equal to 1, so we get rid of our edge side, because no one ever sees it. And we can see immediately it's gone. And it's gone. But we can see all the rest of them. Okay, let's get to them.